Hello, whisperers. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy tonight's tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps more than you know. Now, dim the lights, and let's begin tonight's story. I was 2 paychecks from sleeping in my car. No, scratch that. 1 paycheck. Rent was overdue, my phone was off, and I'd been eating instant mashed potatoes cold because the gas had been cut 3 days earlier. When I saw the ad taped to the bus stop, I thought it was a prank. Night shift, $22 per hour. Cash daily. Rest stop attendant needed. Mile marker, 12. Route 191. No experience needed, no background check, just follow the rules. There was no phone number, just an address and a time. Arrive by 7 p.m. Ask for Vern. I didn't have many options left, so I went. The place looked abandoned when I pulled in. The gas pump was older than I was, beige and rusted. Numbers half-lit like dying eyes. A row of vending machines buzzed against the side of the building, humming in and out of sync. The front door was propped open with a dirty mop bucket. Inside it was cold, too cold for the desert. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered with a wet sound like moths caught in glue traps. Rows of shelves, chips, expired beef jerky, off-brand soda, stood still in stale air. Behind the counter sat a cracked radio, an old register, and a stained corkboard. No Vern, no note. Just that smell, the kind you only notice when it's already in your clothes. Dust, bleach, and something sweet, gone sour. I waited a full hour before I saw it. A single piece of paper tacked to the board behind the register. White, but yellowing. The corners were curled, typed out in all caps. The heading read, "Rules for the night shift. Follow these exactly." There were 11. Some crossed out, others underlined in pen. One had what looked like blood smudged beneath it, but I told myself it was sauce or old ink. And scribbled at the bottom, in someone's shaky handwriting, "If you're reading this, it's already started." I read the list twice, laughed once, nervously, then taped it to the wall behind the counter like it was a damn to-do list. No sheriff after midnight. Okay. Cover the bathroom mirror. Sure. Don't touch the gas pump at 3 a.m. Weird, but fine. At exactly 11:58 p.m., the overhead lights flickered. Just for a second. Like someone was breathing on the wiring. I watched the second hand on my watch tick slowly past midnight. No customers, no cars on the road, just me, and the sound of the lights buzzing a little louder. At 12:04 a.m., I remembered Rule 3. Don't look directly at the mirror in the staff bathroom after 12:01 a.m. Cover it with the cloth in the cabinet. There was no real explanation, just the rule. I figured it was a superstition, or hazing, or maybe something left over from the last guy who worked here. Still, I went. The hallway past the cooler felt longer than it should have. Every footstep landed just a little too loud. My breath clouded in front of me even though it was July. A single door at the end stood slightly open, light bleeding out into the dark like a wound. The staff bathroom smelled like bleach and pennies, and the mirror was uncovered. At first, I didn't realize what was wrong. It was just my face, pale under the flickering bulb, eyes sunken from too little sleep. But then I saw it. My reflection was a second behind. I moved. It didn't. Then it grinned. Not a twitch of my real mouth, not even a blink. Just a wide, unnatural curl of teeth I didn't show. And then it started moving again, catching up frame by frame. I slammed the cabinet door open, grabbed the cloth, and threw it over the mirror so fast I knocked the soap dispenser to the ground. Silence, nothing but my heart pounding like it was trying to get out. I stood there for a long time. I didn't uncover the mirror again. When I finally made it back to the front counter, I reached for the radio to see if it worked. Just static. And buried under the static, I thought I heard whispering, not words, just syllables that shouldn't have been spoken. I sat behind the counter and stared at the list of rules. 1 down, 10 to go. The lights flickered again. And somewhere outside, the ice machine began to scratch. I didn't sleep the next day. Couldn't. I left the rest stop at sunrise, not even bothering to count my pay from the register drawer. I just took the crumpled bills and drove until the building shrank in my rear view. When I got back to my apartment, I sat on the floor for 3 hours, lights on, trying to convince myself I'd imagined it. The mirror, the delay, that smile. I don't scare easy, but that thing, it didn't feel like a trick of the light. Still, I showed up again the next night. Desperation does something to your sense of fear, like turning down the volume on survival instincts just enough that you can pretend you're still making rational decisions. Rent was due in 4 days. I had $42 to my name, and no other job would have me. So I went back. I got there just before 7 p.m. The sun was a copper smear along the horizon, heat still clinging to the blacktop like melted plastic. But the air felt colder as I walked through the door. Lights on, register humming, ice machine silent now. The cloth was still covering the mirror. I checked it first thing. The list was still taped behind the counter, too, a little darker around the edges, like the paper was sick, and someone had written something new at the bottom in the same spidery handwriting as before. Don't answer when he knocks the first time, or the second. Just pray he doesn't knock a third. That one wasn't typed, and it wasn't there yesterday. Midnight crept in like mold. The sky turned pitch, stars sharp as broken glass. The desert outside looked like it had never known sunlight. No customers, no headlights on the road. Just me and the noise of electricity whining through ceiling tubes. At 12:06 a.m., I heard the first knock, 3 times, calm, precise. Knuckles against glass, not the door, the front window. I didn't move at first. I just listened. It came again, louder this time, more insistent. I stood slowly, leaned toward the counter, and peeked around the edge to see out the window. A man stood just outside the glass. Broad shoulders, tan uniform, star badge on his chest. A sheriff. His face was hidden under a wide-brimmed hat, but I could see his mouth. It wasn't moving. He stood too still, like he was waiting to be noticed. I ducked back down. Rule 2. If a man in a sheriff's uniform knocks after midnight, don't open the door. We don't have law enforcement out here anymore. What the hell does that even mean? The knock came again. He spoke this time, muffled, clear. You all right in there? We had reports of a break-in. You match the description. Mind if I come in? His voice sounded like it was doubled, like 2 audio tracks layered slightly out of sync. I could hear the delay between consonants. The second version of every sentence came a heartbeat late and slightly distorted. Then something changed. Don't you recognize me? He said, voice smoother now, familiar. It's me, Tyler. My stomach dropped. I hadn't heard that name in months. Tyler was my ex. We hadn't spoken since things fell apart last winter. He was never a cop. Didn't even live in this state. Come on, the sheriff said. You always did hate sleeping alone. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then he knocked a second time, not at the window. This time it was the door. Wood, not glass. Louder, harder, like he was leaning his weight into it. 3 knocks again. Then silence. I crept to the corner of the counter and slid the small security monitor out from under the register. The feed was grainy, black and white, but the angle showed the front door clearly. Nobody was there, not the sheriff, not Tyler, not anything. I rewound the feed. Nothing ever appeared. But the knocking had happened. I'd heard it. My heart was still trying to punch its way out of my chest. At 12:33 a.m., the vending machine lit up. I didn't hear the hum until it was already glowing. I turned and saw the words flickering across the screen. Thank you, Kyle. I froze. I'm not Kyle. The keypad clicked. The machine whirred like it was dispensing something, but nothing dropped. The flap at the bottom stayed closed. I stood there, not sure if I should open it. Then I remembered Rule 7. If the vending machine displays "Thank you, Kyle," hide under the counter. I didn't even think. I ducked. I stayed there, knees on cracked linoleum, trying to listen over the sound of my pulse. The vending machine clicked again, and then footsteps. Just outside, slow, shuffling, uneven. 1 step, pause. Another. Like someone dragging a leg. Something wet hit the glass. I waited. I couldn't look. I don't know how long I stayed crouched like that. Maybe 5 minutes, maybe 30. But when the footsteps faded and the lights dimmed again, I crawled out. The vending machine was dark. A pack of gum lay in the tray. Not something I recognized. No brand name. The label was smudged with what looked like ash, or mold, or skin flakes. I didn't touch it. The rest of the shift passed without incident. No more knocks, no customers, no voices. But when I checked the mirror before leaving, the cloth had shifted, like someone had pulled at the corner and then stopped halfway. I didn't check what was underneath. I just went home. That night, I dreamed of Tyler. Only it wasn't really him. His voice kept skipping. His mouth smiled too wide, and in the dream he wore a star on his chest. I stopped turning the car off when I pulled in, didn't even lock the door. That way, if I had to run, there'd be nothing in the way. Just keys in the ignition and one desperate hope that the tank wasn't on empty. The third night felt heavier, like the air had grown teeth. Everything looked the same. Same gas pump, same cracked window, same no receipt sign duct taped to the register. But it all felt hungrier. That's the word that kept coming to mind. The list of rules was still on the corkboard, but the corners were curling inward, like it was trying to fold in on itself. I clocked in with a pencil. There was no real time sheet, just a notepad that said, "Shift started. Hope you make it to shift ended." That had to be Vern's sense of humor, if Vern ever existed. The cloth was still over the mirror. I checked it twice. Didn't even touch it. I just stared at the cabinet for a second too long, then walked away. At 11:50 p.m., I stood behind the counter and just waited. Didn't read. Didn't scroll my dead phone. Didn't even blink when the first scratching sound began. It came from the ice machine. At first it was faint, like a raccoon had gotten trapped behind it. But then it started to pulse. Rhythmic. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Like something pressing fingernails into the metal from the inside. Rule 4. If you hear scratching from inside the ice machine, unplug it. Do not check inside. Simple enough. I grabbed the extension cord and yanked it from the wall. The humming stopped. The scratching didn't. Instead, it got louder. I backed up, not taking my eyes off the machine. My hand hovered over the baseball bat under the counter. It was old and cracked, but it felt better than empty fists. The machine groaned, like something inside was adjusting to the lack of power. Then silence, dead silence. I stood there for another 2 minutes. And then, because I'm a goddamn idiot, I checked. I don't remember opening the hatch. I think part of me wanted proof that this was all some elaborate joke, that someone, somewhere, was watching and laughing. But when I opened the ice machine, it wasn't empty. There was no ice inside, just a deep metal basin stretching way farther down than it should have. No end in sight. It felt more like an open grave than a cooler. And floating halfway down, barely visible in the low light, was a face, pale, bloated, eyeless. Its skin was pulled tight like a Frieza-burnt mask, lips twisted in what could have been a smile or a scream. Hair floated upward, weightless in the dark. Then it moved. Its head twitched. Its neck cracked. It started rising. I slammed the hatch shut so hard I jammed my wrist. I didn't unplug it again. Instead, I dragged the heaviest thing I could find, a box of canned food, and wedged it against the machine's door. Then I backed away, keeping my eyes on it like it might lurch forward and spill open. At 3 a.m., the gas pump hissed. No cars had pulled in, no engines, no headlights, but the pump turned on by itself. The display flashed, 0.66 gallons dispensed. No transaction, no swipe, just a quiet, glugging rhythm like the ground itself needed a drink. Rule 6. Every night, the gas pump will dispense exactly 0.66 gallons at 3 a.m. Let it. Don't touch the nozzle. I didn't even get close. The pump clicked off after 20 seconds, a soft clunk like a closing throat. I watched it from behind the glass, half expecting something to crawl out from under the carport. Nothing happened until I looked at the mirror again. It was uncovered. Not just uncovered. The cloth was gone. Nowhere in the bathroom. Just the mirror, sitting on the wall like it had always belonged, catching the overhead light at an angle that made the whole room feel slanted. And in the mirror, I wasn't standing right. My reflection had its head tilted too far. Its eyes were wide, black, like the pupils had swallowed everything else. Its mouth didn't move when mine did, but its nostrils flared, like it was breathing, like it had its own lungs. I stepped back. So did it. I turned. It didn't. For a second, we weren't synced, and in that second, its hand twitched. It reached toward the glass. I shut the door and didn't go back in. At 3:33 a.m., the lights in the store went out all at once, like someone had flipped a switch inside my bones. I stood there in the dark, breathing hard, ears straining for any sound. The register screen glowed faintly, just enough to cast a shadow across the floor. My shadow, but I wasn't moving. And it was. The shadow bent at the waist, tilted its head, and grinned. I don't remember getting to my car. All I remember is locking the doors while the building got smaller behind me, and the ice machine made one last metallic scream before it vanished into the night. When I got home, I threw the bat on the kitchen floor and opened every light in the apartment. I even opened the fridge just to keep one more bulb burning. And on the inside of my bedroom mirror, written backward in something smeared and brown, were 4 words. We know you now. By the 4th night, I didn't bother changing clothes. I wore what I'd passed out in. Still smelled like sweat and metal. My hands shook on the wheel the whole drive out, and I barely looked at the road. You ever get so tired your body stops warning you you're tired? Like your skin just goes numb from the inside out? That's what it felt like pulling back into that gravel lot. The lights were already on when I arrived. That was the first thing wrong. I always had to flick them on manually. Tonight they buzzed like I was late. The vending machine had already spit something out. It sat in the tray, a melted candy bar with teeth marks in the wrapper. Human teeth, front ones, slightly crooked. I checked my reflection in the glass. My smile didn't match, didn't touch it, didn't check the mirror. I don't even know why I walked inside. Maybe I thought if I kept showing up, eventually the rules would run out. Like a list with an end, a system with boundaries. But now the rules felt like a cage, and something was testing the bars. At 1:02 a.m., the white pickup pulled in. No headlights, no engine sound, just gliding, like it was being pushed from behind by something invisible. It stopped 10 feet from the front door and sat there, idling on silence. The windows were tinted, too dark to see in, but I felt the driver watching. I ducked behind the counter. Rule 5. A white pickup truck may pull up without headlights. Do not interact with the driver. I didn't plan to, but then the door opened. Footsteps, one set, measured, heavy-soled boots on tile. I peeked through the shelf gap. Just one leg at first, then a body. And that body was mine. Same shoes, same hoodie, same coffee stain on the sleeve. It, walked to the counter like it belonged there, looked around, tapped the register once, then leaned on the counter with both arms and looked up, right into my eyes. "Hey," it said. I left my keys. Its voice wasn't off. That's what made it worse. It was perfect, like listening to your own voicemail, but watching someone else's mouth form the words. "Come on. You always leave them under the drawer, right?" It smiled. "I'm tired, man. Let's not make this weird." Rule 10. If a second version of you walks in asking for your keys, run. So I ran. I didn't even stand. Just crab walked backward until I hit the hallway and scrambled up, slipping once on the same vinyl floor I mopped last week. Behind me, the thing walked, no, strode, with perfect posture and steady calm. "Don't be like this," it called. I slammed into the back office and locked the door. It didn't rattle the handle. It didn't knock. Just stood out there, breathing, calm and casual. I pressed my ear to the wood. I could hear it smiling. I turned to the office, looked for a weapon, a phone, anything. Instead, I saw the key, the one from Rule 8. There's a key in the back office labeled "Do Not Use." If you see it move, call the number taped to the ceiling. It wasn't on the hook where it always was. It was on the desk, spinning, slow and lazy, like someone had just flicked it. I looked up. The number was still there, barely legible under thumbprints and cobwebs. I yanked the phone from the desk and dialed it. No ring, just a voice, picked up instantly. "It's not outside," the voice said. "Check the mirror." Then a click. I turned. There was no mirror in the office. There never had been. But in the reflection of the window, I saw me standing outside the door, and me standing behind myself, smiling, watching. The reflection's lips moved, but I didn't speak. "Give me the keys." A wet, dragging sound broke the trance. I spun toward the hallway. Something was sliding across the floor, slow, squelching. Then I saw her, the cleaning lady. She pushed a mop ahead of her, gliding like she had no bones in her legs. Her uniform was wrong. Hospital scrubs, stained, too large for her thin frame. Her hair was stringy, black, and dripping. The mop wasn't cleaning anything. There was no water, and what she dragged behind her wasn't a bucket. It was a body bag. She looked at me. Her face was wrong. Lips stitched closed. No eyes. And somehow, she still saw me. Rule 9. Never speak to the woman cleaning the bathroom. She doesn't work here. I didn't say a word, but she stopped, tilted her head, then reached out toward the bathroom. The door was open, and the mirror inside was uncovered. I bolted from the office, slammed into the fake me as I went, its face a blur of my own expression, frozen in fury. I shoved past it and ran straight into the parking lot, toward the only exit I still trusted, the open road. Behind me, the building pulsed. Lights flickered. Machines screamed. Something metal shattered. And the last thing I heard before reaching my car was the voice of myself calling out from the doorway, "You forgot your keys." I should have kept driving. I know that now. But something happens after 4 nights in a place like that. Something that makes your brain soft. It's like your thoughts get chewed up and swallowed. You start to forget what real is, what quiet sounds like, what your own voice feels like when it isn't mimicked back at you through glass. The rest stop was inside me, even when I was 40 miles away. So on night 5, I didn't decide to go back. I just turned the wheel, didn't pack a bag, didn't leave a note. I got in my car, and the road took me. The sky was red when I arrived. Not sunset red, not even desert red. Wrong red. Like something had flayed the clouds wide open and left them to bleed. The rest stop looked smaller. The windows were all lit, every bulb humming like a scream trying to stay polite. And the rules list was waiting for me, still taped to the corkboard. Only now the letters were handwritten, not typed, and the title had changed. Rules to Become. Some of the ink was smeared, like fingerprints pressed too hard, but the words were still there, all 11. No edits, no crossed lines, just one addition at the very bottom. If you've made it this far, the list isn't yours anymore. I stared at it for too long. My hands itched. I don't know why I thought it would work, but I grabbed the paper, tore it down, and stuffed it in the trash can, poured lighter fluid on top, struck a match. The flame hissed. The paper curled, but it didn't burn. It twitched. The edge bubbled, not like paper does, but like skin. The ink began to bleed, not fade, bleed, red and wet, and in the curling, living parchment, I saw teeth. I kicked the can over. The flame went out, the list stayed whole. I left it on the tile and backed away. 3 a.m. The gas pump came alive. Only this time it didn't stop at 0.66 gallons. It kept running. The numbers spun faster and faster until they blurred into nonsense, and out of the black horizon a line of headlights emerged, all white pickups. Dozens, maybe more. They weren't driving. They were sliding, like the desert floor had turned to ice. No sound, no motors, just rows of dead-eyed vehicles gliding into the lot and circling the building like vultures with engines. I locked the doors and ran to the bathroom, because somehow I knew that's where it would end. The mirror was gone, not broken, not covered, gone. In its place was a hole in the wall, perfectly rectangular, same size, same height. It pulsed like a throat. I heard myself breathing on the other side, and then I heard footsteps behind me. Not the doppelganger, not the sheriff, not the cleaning woman. Me. Real me. wearing what I wore the first night, standing with my back to the door, looking pale and lost and so tired. I turned around. He didn't move. "You stayed too long," he said. "It's your shift now." He stepped forward. I stepped back. My heel hit the edge of the hole where the mirror used to be. Cold air rushed from it like breath. "It has your name now," he whispered. And then I fell. I don't remember landing. I remember waking up behind the counter. Lights on, register humming, vending machine glowing faintly. The list was back on the wall. Same yellow paper, same blood-smudged rules. Only now, the name scribbled at the bottom didn't say Kyle. It said my name, and when I went outside, I saw the sunrise. But it didn't feel like leaving. It felt like the beginning of someone else's shift. There's a new knock at the door every night. Sometimes it's the sheriff. Sometimes it's a version of me I don't remember being. Sometimes the gas pump keeps running and the list changes while I'm watching. But I know what matters now. You don't break the rules, not because you'll die if you do, but because if you break them, they break you. And once the rest stop has your name, you're not going anywhere.